I've been the chair now for a little over a year and a half, and I'm one of those board members who's actually rotating off after doing a full 3-year term. And I really want to send this off in the best possible way. So what we're going to do tonight is each candidate is going to be asked 4 different questions, and the same questions for everybody. And I'm asking each of the candidates to only take 2 minutes per question. So I'll ask a question, you have 2 minutes to answer it. I'll ask the next question. We'll go to the next, after we get through the 4 questions, I'll move to the next candidate. I picked the order of the candidates randomly. I haven't used a random number table in a long time, but I did for this. So want to make sure that you have a sense of that's how we chose the order tonight, so it makes sense. And what I want to also invite you as attendees who have questions you would like to pose to these candidates, pose those in the chat. You have access to the chat. Please pose them to the chat. As we close out the meeting tonight, we'll have a bit of time, not a long time, but a bit of time to look at those questions and pull out some of them. And candidates will have a minute or so to be able to answer them. So you could ask a particular question to a particular candidate, but do that in the chat to make sure that we don't lose it and we have a chance to ask the candidates your question. What I'd like to do is the order tonight will be Effie, Rick, Vina, Deirdre, and Allison. So just that'll give you kind of heads up where you are. So you have a chance to, hopefully, I know that Ty sent each of you the questions that I'll be asking so that you had a little chance to think about that in advance, because that need to be concise on it is really important. I'd like to start off with Effie.
Okay. All right.
Ready?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, first,
Well,
the first question I'd like to ask you is, what makes you so willing to be a member of the board at this point in time and especially in your life?
well, first off, I've always been drawn to the core values of Servas, building bridges, fostering peace, creating meaningful, lasting friendships through travel and dialogue, which has been a wonderful experience for me. The world needs organizations like Servas more than ever, and I'm committed to ensuring that it thrives. By nature, I'm someone who wants to help out, especially if I believe in a cause. And I think that I have a lot to offer Servas in terms of like the energy, ideas, experience. Um, I bring a skill set that includes digital engagement and a deep understanding of what resonates with younger generations, as I was a teacher for close to 2.5 decades. And I would like to be a part of a team that brings Servas into a new era that helps us grow without compromising the integrity of our mission. So I believe Servas can evolve in ways that respects its roots while still embracing the tools and reaching a broader, more diverse audience. So.
Thank you. Second question, what's your vision for US Service in the near future,
Okay.
especially the next 3 years?
I thought we were going to like rotate between everybody. So it's like I get these all at once.
You get them all at once, and then you can relax and listen to everybody else.
Okay. Well, in the next 3 years, my vision is to see Servas become more visible and relevant, especially among the younger generation, like increasing enrollment, particularly among people under 30, is essential to keeping our organization viable. While Servas has a strong history and mission, we need to modernize our approach to reach the younger demographics. So I believe that leveraging social media strategically is key to doing this. currently, I think we're underutilizing our platforms on Facebook and Instagram. I don't know if we have a TikTok. I've seen our YouTube. Um, Posting is one thing, but engagement is really the metric that we need to see improve. So it's not just about how many posts we make, but it's whether we spark conversations and shares and the awareness of our mission. So partnering maybe with social media influencers that align, that's really important, that align with our message, our values of cultural understanding and peace would be instrumental to having this succeed. And influencers can also spread our message to new audiences in an authentic way without turning us into a mere travel hack, which is not what we are about.
Good, thank you. Third question, as we continue rolling, Effie. Um, Service has a number of possible priority areas: growth, peace, local communities, youth, maybe something else. What would you say are your priorities for the organization?
I think youth engagement again, because that's what is going to ultimately make Servas viable. We need to create opportunities and programs that resonate with young adults. This could be through virtual exchanges, maybe cultural storytelling projects, which I know we have some of these things. Travel scholarships that embrace our mission of peace and understanding, possibly collaborating with universities or other youth organizations that could boast our appeal to young travelers. Um, Also, in this day and age, I can't let peace and global understanding go by the wayside because we certainly need that more than ever. I think we could focus on growing our membership, peace building, and promoting cultural awareness, remaining at the core of that membership by highlighting more peace related projects and initiatives within our social media efforts. Um, and we could use storytelling from our members to show how Servas impacts global understanding. And yeah, that would be it.
Good, thank you. Appreciate your answers to those four questions, and hopefully, if the group here have some particular questions that you'd like to follow up with, Effie, please write them into the chat.
I only had 3 questions though.
I only had three. I bet. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I did do the last, miss the last one. Thank you. The fourth question is: what is the biggest concern you have that you want to deal with Servas?
I think I'm kind of, again, it's the declining membership. Um, as with a lot of organizations, we get this aging population, and I'm part of it, and lack of younger members. That to me is a significant concern. Also perception, because when I do discuss this with people, they have this perception of it being a couch surfing type site, um, and that's obviously not the essence of our mission. We must communicate that Servas is about cultural exchange and friendship, not just travel accommodations. Visibility, despite our meaningful mission and our goals, we remain relatively unknown. And I would love to increase our visibility among younger travelers.
Good.
That's it.
Thank you. Appreciate your making sure I got the fourth question in.
You're welcome.
Uh, Rick.
Um, hello,
Uh,
all.
so I've got my first question for you.
Okay.
Is what makes you willing to be part of the board at this point?
Uh, well, I'm retired now, and my late wife and I were avid Servas people. I actually have my 1990 LOI when I first started joining Servas. My wife and I traveled in 1990. Uh, so, like I said, I'm retired, so I have time now. I have the passion. I think I'm still young enough to have a lot of energy. I feel like I'm very creative. for an accountant, believe it or not. My last boss goes, I've never met an accountant that was so creative as you. And yeah, so I was a accountant for a nonprofit organization for 23 years. In the management, I was the finance director. So I know a lot about finance management and management of nonprofit. And I feel like I'd really like to, get my 2 feet wet and get involved. I'm already slightly involved because I'm on the finance committee
Mhm.
with Lena and Dick, and I think Lee's also on that committee.
Yeah.
So that's about it.
Good, thank you. In terms of the second question, what is your vision for US Servas in the near future, especially in the next 3 years?
Um, well, I don't think anybody could answer it as well as Effie did. But I do echo a lot of the things she said. I would really like to get more people involved, especially younger people. Younger people meaning under 40. I don't know, maybe under 50. I don't know. I think it's really important, and I would love to start being creative on how to go about doing that. One of the things I would like to do also is to start working more into the local communities. My wife Colleen and I did a lot of potlucks in our house, but over 30 years we only had like 3, I think. So I think it's time to try to ramp up the local community uh, and talk to them and how they would maybe like to increase our memberships and things. So uh, and for the next 3 years, I also hope to uh, set up some more accounting procedures. Uh, Lena has done a great job, but I'd like to do a few more things with her, and so I'm excited about that as well. I think that's about it for 2 there.
Okay, good. Servas has a number of possible priority areas, such as growth, peace, local communities, youth, maybe something else. What would you say are your priorities for the organization?
I think for the most part is I'd really like to work with the board, work with other people that are passionate, and create a synergy for reaching out to the communities and making an impact in this world. Uh, Let me just. I have to read this from my 1990 letter of introduction, because this is before I even went on a trip or even knew anything about Servas. And one of the things said, what did you expect on your trip? Our trip's purpose is to seek other cultures and experiences, to expect the unexpected, and to look ahead for ways we can mutually love and serve each other. I believe understanding cultures and the people broadens my scope and influences my lifestyle. I believe that Servas will help us to meet and relate to others, to not only look at physical sites, but to be a part of people's lives. And I truly believe that's exactly what's happened in my life with Servas. We've had almost 60 people stay in our home, and like I said, I'm very, very passionate about it, and I want to share that with other people, because I think it's really one of the most important things that's happened in my life. So,
Good, thank you. And the final question, what is your biggest concern that you want to deal with?
um, that's a big question.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I've kind of already already mentioned them. The aging population with Servas and just reaching the world with peace. I think we need to engage more with people. We have a local farmers market that meets every Thursday. I'd like to have a table out there at some point. Um, yeah, but that's a big thing. I think that would help a lot. I mean, we have a university here, Cal Poly. Most of the town is under 25 years old, and the other half are over 50. So I think it'd be a good opportunity to reach out to younger people through doing something like that. So that's part of my creative process, and that's something I'd like to do.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate all those good answers. And with that, I'd like to turn to Vina. And
Hi,
what
everybody.
we're doing is asking these questions. The first question is, what makes you willing to be part of the board at this point in time?
Well, I've been on the board since last year, and it's been a great experience, all in all. Originally, I was interested because I grew up in a Servas household, so my family has participated in Servas since I was about 11 in Seattle, and we have had, throughout my childhood, a ton of visitors from all over the world. My mother speaks French and German and Spanish, and so we met a lot of really interesting European folks and just had a wide variety. And then when I was 11, me and my mother also went to Norway and Denmark, traveling with Servas hosts, which was, a pretty profound experience. I have a cat here. Sorry, that's what I'm doing. This is Tiger. And he insists on being petted. So I must comply. So that was a really profound experience for me. And I also then this year, or not this year, I guess in 2023, took my son, who's 10, to Denmark and Iceland for a trip. And so we got to have sort of a sort of mirrored experience to my own experience at that time. And it was really magical and wonderful. Bill and Lee helped write up a little piece about our experience in one of the most recent newsletters. And apologies, there's some children yelling. And I don't think I can stop that happening right now. So sorry if that's disruptive. I'm going to go actually shut my door real quick and see if that helps. Apologies.
For the article she was referring to was in the last issue of Open Doors, and it's a really cute article. And I think the photo that goes with it was really just said it all, with her son eating a hot dog. It was kind of
fun. We were in Iceland, and Iceland is interesting just because there's no overnight hosts. There's one day host in Iceland, and we stayed in a hostel, but we got to spend time with somebody who lives in Iceland, and he really welcomed us into public transit, which I think I would have been a little bit more anxious about, just because there's not a lot of public transit in Reykjavik. Oh, thanks, Thais. Yeah, there. Moving on. Next question.
Okay. What is your vision now for US Service in the near future, especially for the next 3 years?
Yeah, I think the thing that I would really love to work on is bringing in more families, because it's been such an impactful experience to take my kid and stay with folks who have kids, Service families. We stayed with a Service family in Copenhagen. And that was just so much fun. And there's not a whole lot of families. There were a number of people that had older kids, but not a lot of people with young kids. And I just think it's such an incredible experience to do that traveling with a kid, and also to meet kids in another country and sort of have that cross-cultural experience at that age. And I also think that there's some real serious barriers for why families don't participate. And so I think investigating that and coming up with some ideas to support families in how they could participate, either in traveling or in hosting themselves.
Good. Thank you. The next question is, Servas has a number of possible priority areas, such as growth, peace, local communities, youth, maybe something else. What would you say are the priorities?
Yeah, I think growth is really important. Growth being tied really closely to visibility, and I think that ties into how do we actually align ourselves with peace? What does it mean for us to be an organization that supports and wants to build peace in the world? And what do we do to make that message visible as well as actually bring more peace into the world? That would be my priority.
Great. Thank you. And the last question is, what are your biggest concerns you want to deal with?
Well, we've been talking a lot internally on the board about data and sort of understanding what is actually happening with our members and how many people are staying with what hosts, what does communication look like? And because so much of that happens outside of our platform, so we have this Wild Apricot platform where most of, where the US Servas information is housed. And then you move to Servas International to like track down people's information. There's a lot of information that we don't actually have access to and that isn't really captured anywhere because people are just emailing each other or they're using WhatsApp or whatever it is. And I think that we're missing an opportunity to understand better what kind of barriers people are running into in the actual technical process of meeting hosts, finding places to stay, and that type of action. So I would love to figure out how we can get more of a handle, and maybe that's, sitting down with current users and just watching how people navigate the sites, but get a little bit more understanding about that technical engagement piece.
Good. Thank you. Appreciate your answers to the questions. As we move on, time for Deirdre.
C'est moi. I don't speak French very well, but here I am.
There you are. And you've been hearing the questions, so you know that the first one coming is, what makes you willing to be a part of the board, and in this case, to be a continuing part of the board?
I think one of the most precious things any volunteer receives is an invitation. And the one that I received was really meaningful. And I wanted to rise to the occasion when it was first extended. And now I'm asking to sort of be included. And that's an interesting dynamic. It's like, oh, yes, I hope I've earned some trust, at least with the folks that I've already engaged with. But what I have felt is that I am part of something really important, but the hyper local experience of working with the board and with members is a really nice experience. And so I think that I can bring value with some of the things that I'm good at, but I'm also very curious and eager to learn more about some of the things that I don't get to spend a lot of time with. So volunteer engagement, connection, bringing folks together, education programs, all of those things I understand and do on a regular basis. But the work that the tech team does and the work that Vina does, with the peace and outreach, and then what's happening in finance. I think all of those things are areas that I could still learn and grow. So I hope that the skill set that I bring would also be a good match for our trajectories, where we want to go. How about on to 2?
Okay, how about on to 2? what's your vision for US Servas in the near future, especially the next 3 years?
I am really interested in developing more collaborations. I don't think that we need to do everything as an organization by ourselves. And part of the peace building and the bridge building is reaching out to both like-minded folks and folks that maybe are following a different path, but there's alignment. And those are the things that I'm really interested in. And I find myself doing a lot of research. It's like, we do this, and so does Rotary International. We do this, and so does this organization, the International Listening Association. They would be wonderful partners for just building a rich culture online. And I think that one of the things that I would say I'm very eager to do is to make this as inclusive an organization as we can. So I'm deeply respect the experience of our senior members, and I think that there's still many, many years of activity and engagement still ahead of us with that. So I am less concerned about our aging membership. I'm very interested in the intellectual curiosity and connection that we can have with each other at any age. What else would I do? So in addition to connections and sort of strengthening our volunteer engagement practice, I would also like to believe that as the US leaders, that we could constantly cultivate and develop our relationships with leadership in the other countries. It doesn't have to be left to SI to manage these relationships. And I think by showing up to their programming, we can help with that. And I think our newsletter is amazing. So I can understand why folks who are not members might be intrigued, but I think it's a really good thing to offer up once people do join. How about the next?
How about the next? Servas has a number of possible priorities: growth, peace, local communities, youth, maybe something else. You've talked about some of those other things already. What would you say are your priorities?
Well, I would like to go where people are, and so I really want to hold carefully our view of couch surfing. I've hosted young couch surfers for 25 years, and I know that that's what they do. This is how they move. And I think that offering them knowledge of Servas as a resource is one of those treasures that you give when you're making the connection. So I'd like to say, if we're going to be engaging young people, we also need to think about where they are and show up there in a meaningful way. So I'm just going to say my priorities will be health and well-being of the board, however it's constituted, cultivating sort of the next, to make sure that we have a pipeline of folks who are excited and engaged, and that we don't think that the only way that we can prove our relevance is to get bigger. I'd like us to go deep and in a meaningful way, in many levels of connection.
Good. And what are the biggest concerns that you want us to deal with?
In my 30 years of volunteer engagement, I always ask folks to do what they say they're going to do, when they say they're going to do it, or communicate effectively. And you can hold a lot of space for folks that, sort of follow that. And so I think one of my concerns is not really volunteer burnout, but communication, that we really need to take everyone's temperature as we're moving along, to make sure that, if folks are moving at a really fast pace, that they also know that they could slow down for a little bit, and that these ebbs and flows of contributions make sense. I was so excited when I heard Rick say, I'm retired and I have time now. And I do think that it is easier to manage national organizations like this when you have a lot of free time. So a concern is still energy and good health, but I'm still committed. I've got a number of years before retirement, so I'm in it. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much. Allison, welcome. And like to start off with the first question for you, which is, what makes you willing to be part of the board?
Yeah, so I have been involved in host exchanges ever since the age of 15. Rotary International came to my school, and I was a foreign exchange student to São José dos Campos, Brazil. It completely changed the trajectory of my life. It was an amazing opportunity, completely eye-opening. Since then, I've been doing host exchange through a number of organizations. I've spent a few weeks in several countries across Europe, Japan, Africa, most recently Guatemala. I'm pretty new to the board here, but I think it's an amazing opportunity to be part of the leadership of an organization that does the exact kind of work that has really changed my life, broadened my horizons. I owe much gratitude to host travel exchange organizations, and so I think it's really a great honor to be given the opportunity to participate in a leadership capacity, to ensure that others are able to experience what I've had the opportunity to experience.
Good, thank you. And what's your vision for US Servas in the near future, especially for the next 3 years?
Yeah, sure. I think very similar to my other candidates, I'd like to see more online engagement, perhaps more virtual discussions to engage members, maybe with subject matter experts, discussions that may talk about global peace or cultural diversity, different types of issues, so that we just may further engage our membership on issues that are important to us.
Good, thank you. And Servas has a number of possible priority areas: growth, peace, local communities, youth, maybe something else. What do you say are your priorities for the organization?
I have a long-term goal of becoming more involved in youth education, in fostering youth, and I'd like to become more involved in this reconnection to the earth, and in educating children on outdoor skills that bring us closer to the earth. I think, which then provides like this this better connection to us as humans, to the world around us, and how we all are really interconnected as a whole. So those would be my priorities. I'd like to focus on is youth and peace.
And what do you feel are your biggest concerns that you want to deal with?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a concern per se. I'm still pretty new to the organization. I've only been a member now for 1 year, so I definitely have a lot to learn in regards to what has been tried previously, what has failed, what has succeeded. But I think a priority of mine may be in expanding outreach into more diverse communities. I'd like to see more underrepresented communities be given this opportunity, be shown that this is an opportunity and something that you can engage in. So perhaps connecting with more local organizations, maybe even organizations that deal with immigrants, with refugees, and most definitely with communities of color.
Good, thank you. And I appreciate all of you with your thoughtful answers. And part of what I was just thinking as Allison was talking, so you've been part of the organization for a year. And some people say, oh, you should be really long. But there's a perspective that a candidate with so short a time, you have different perspective than somebody else who has been for 20, 30, or 40 years. And as we talk about bringing in new members, we need to be able to look at all those perspectives. And so appreciate your thinking about that. Julie, I have not seen the chat. Have we gotten questions in the chat?
Not, yeah, if I may, Bill, there's not too much chatter, but one question that I have that I was going to put in the chat for myself to read is Allison's interesting idea of like, and I'm trying to reinterpret it. Would you say that you were thinking about like a lecture series or speakers that would come and speak about something, and that would be like an online Zoom kind of a thing? Is that what you were envisioning?
Yeah, that was kind of. I've engaged in events put on by UNA, the United Nations Association. Events that they do is like they invite ambassadors to come and speak to their members. It doesn't necessarily have to be that train of thought, but something similar. We all have similar interests here. That's why we're all part of the board. That's why we're all members of this organization. So yeah, if we're looking for ideas, it doesn't necessarily have to be just those folks that are involved with us, but bringing in those outside ideas to us by inviting them to collaborate and to talk about the work that they do, or that they'd like help in doing.
Nice, nice. Thank you. And a question from the chat from all the candidates is, have you ever recruited anybody to serve us? I personally, I'm out there when I'm traveling, I'm constantly bringing it up, but I think I've failed more often than not. I'm out there twisting arms. I know I've recruited a couple, but anybody else have a success story?
Deirdre.
One of the things that I've been focused on are folks that were members in the 70s. And I was like, yes, and now that you've done all of those things, wouldn't it be great to come back and you can share your stories with us? And also, when I show up in certain places and say that I'm actively volunteering, I also hear, oh, that's right, I'd like to get back involved. I'd like to renew my membership. So I have not tracked whether or not any of the 4 folks that I'm thinking of have done so, but I'm still working on it.
Heather,
Oh, sorry.
go ahead, Tice.
It is tough. I had to recruit, force one of my travel buddies to sign up so we could have some interactions when we were just in Portugal in the spring, which was lovely. There's that's all I see in the chat right now. The one other question was kind of actually for you, Dick, which was more like, is there any I guess piece of advice that you would give to these candidates or to the board as we onboard new people, as you've watched this process go? Anything that they should know?
I do have thoughts about this. And first of all, I want to say I am just so appreciative of the group of people that we've had on the board, that have on the board right now, and what a great group of candidates to be on the board. The vitality of the organization is really in the end driven by the board, especially since we do not have a staff. We're an all volunteer organization. And the ideas about how to do things and improve things, and a willingness to actually pitch in and do the work, because you can't just say, oh, the staff will do that. There isn't a staff. We are the organization. So the idea of how do we onboard people is a challenge, because the fact that as a nonprofit organization, we are without a staff. So many nonprofit organizations have staff, and you just learn how to set policy and oversee. And this is a very much a working board with tasks to do and how to manage your time. The very issue that has been brought up on by a couple of people is an important issue. We don't want to burn people out, and part of that is, as a volunteer organization, we need to continue to recruit volunteers. We need to excite the membership to the point where people say, "I want to do more. I want to ensure the success of the organization." And so, a challenge I have to the board now and into the future is how to excite that our membership to the point where more people want to pitch in. Because there are a variety of roles. We are looking at roles both short-term tasks as well as ongoing tasks that need participation. And so onboarding means helping new board members really understand the opportunities and see the places to really plug in and bring that enthusiasm that I've been hearing tonight to the fore, because that is where we really have that opportunity. And so, Bill, are you waving to me a time?
No, I was actually going to follow up with what you had to say, if you don't mind.
I don't mind at all. Go ahead.
Okay, we have some onboarding section classes that you can take on how to use SharePoint, which is the key platform upon which we communicate as a board. And it's important that you get on board with that, because if you don't, you're going to have a tough time managing this. And the other thing is, we invite the candidates after the elections to attend the board meetings as non-voting, but participants in the discussions, et cetera. So I would suggest, if you can do it and you have the time to do that, to take advantage of that, because it's useful. Just getting, if nothing else, just getting to know the other board members and how they react and how they talk, so that when January comes in and you guys are ready to pick up some of the slack and do some of the work, you have a clue as to who is involved with what. So, yeah.
Good. And thinking of the tech, Julie, what is the date of the tech orientation?
November the 9th, I believe. It's a Saturday.
Saturday. It's Saturday morning,
Yes.
depending on time zone.
Saturday morning at 9 Pacific, I believe. So November 9th, 9 a.m. Pacific
Okay.
is the tech orientation for the new board
And I
members.
believe that's 2 hours.
I think that's correct, yes.
And that's an important one for just the kind of issues that were being brought up about we are dependent on our SharePoint for sharing information, and our meetings take place in teams, and that orientation will help with those. So helping with these kind of technical pieces, there's a lot of support. Our tech team has been marvelous at providing support for how to use our technology. And so that's really good. But the idea of that many of you have talked about when you're talked about priorities, priority for me, I've been a member of Servas for over 50 years. And for me, I came to Servas because of its peace orientation. I remain active in it because of its peace orientation and believing that we are, as Servas, creating peace one friendship at a time. And I've always liked that phrase that was used all the way back in the early 70s when I first joined. But how to do that in today's world in a meaningful way is a challenge that this board is going to have to undertake. It's been addressing it, but it's going to continue. And all of you who are attending tonight have the opportunity to have input into that process. And so while we're challenging the candidates, I'd like to challenge everybody. to be thinking about, what ways can I contribute? What ways, with ideas, with actions, that will support the larger organization being a peaceful organization that really resonates with people around the country and then beyond. And so that's part of what I bring a lot of enthusiasm still for Servas. Let me check to see if there are other questions that have come up. No.
I think all the candidates have done a great job of answering the questions, and they're right in line with where the current board is thinking. And in fact, we have a meeting this Saturday where we're going to be talking about some of these things, so we can at least, I am also leaving the board, I'm Bill McGargle, and we can pass along our thoughts about what we think might be things that the oncoming board and the people that are already on the board that will continue can think about. So we're looking forward to that. It's going to be a long day, but that's what we do.
That's what we do. And tomorrow is a board meeting.
Yeah.
So we can, if you're interested, let us know and we will get you access to the board meeting. It will take place in Teams, but we'll be able to help you out if you'd like to join, especially the candidates. Make sure that you feel the way to get in.
Too late now. They got it. They're in now. They can't get scared off now.
Yeah, that's right. The one last piece I would like to say about the board is the board, I think, operates in such a positive way about working together. The value of collaboration and respect. We have differences of opinions virtually every board meeting. And I have really appreciated the way those differences have been heard. And rather than causing anger, it's been really a matter of curiosity to better understand. And the end result has been a collaborative approach that I think has really benefited the organization in helping it move forward. And so I invite the candidates, as you think about collaboration, to be thinking about how you have worked collaboratively in the past. That was going to be one of the questions that I was going to ask, but I will just pose it to you for you to be thinking about as we move forward, because that kind of collaborative effort is what is really going to make a difference in the organization being effective and efficient and not burning out our volunteers, very honestly. The more we can work together and be creative together, the more we can do that. And so I want to thank everybody for attending tonight. We were wanting to try to keep this under an hour. I think we're going to do that. And remind you that the election starts this weekend. And Thijs, do you want to say anything about the process for voting?
No, I want to ask Bill to speak on the process for voting. Is there going to be a spot on the website that people go to, or are we going to email out?
It is. It's on the candidates page. It's under the menus. You have to be logged in as your regular Servas account, and you have to be a host traveler. Friends of Servas are valued, but they're non-voting members. And admin accounts will not allow, you cannot log in to vote because otherwise we could possibly have two votes, one from your admin account and one from your host traveler account. So anybody who wants to vote needs to log in first and go to the menus at the top of the page where it says About Us, Board, and then Elections. So, or ballot or something. It's something. I don't remember the exact words, but you can do it right from the menus. Also, in the email we sent out 3 days ago, both Dick and I, it turns out, sent them out. There's links in there directly to the webpage that has the short bios and the ballot. But from the short bios, you can go to the credentials of each of the candidates. So I think we've got bases covered, I hope, if they all work.
And the election starts on Saturday, right?
Actually, it's on midnight the 18th, or which I guess is Saturday morning.
No,
So
that's,
anybody wants to be the first vote, get up at, well,
that's right. Or just stay up late and
Yeah.
and that's Eastern time.
actually, I think it's sometime.
Yeah. So if you get up on Saturday morning, wherever you are, you can vote. Very good. Well, I want to wish you all a very good evening, and I appreciate your taking your time this Wednesday to be a part of this. And special appreciation to our 5 candidates. I feel really good about the hands that you're going to be able to take with that.
Richard, I have something to say. This is Lena.
Okay, Lena. Lena,
Yeah,
Lena is on the board and is our treasurer.
Okay. If any of the candidates would like to attend the board meeting, because Effie showed interest in attending the board meeting as just an observer.
Right. So we just
So-
need to send her an invitation.
Yes. So if any of them want to do it.
I'll send it to everybody.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you, Thais. And with that, I wish you all a good night.
Good job, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Dick.
Dick.
Good night.
Thank you, Julie.